for those of you that popped in just a few minutes ago, I went ahead and I combined the environment and the oral language development part of this because you all have done the oral language development before and it's very similar. And the environment, I found some of the coolest pictures that we can talk through. And I thought we could just put it together so you all don't have to come twice today, you just have to come once. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Let's get started. So today we're doing session 7 and 8 for creativity in daily interactions and environments. So participants will learn ways to foster creativity through materials and questioning skills. So we did have the chapter on room arrangement already. So we're just going to do a little bit of a refresher here. For creativity, they said that you should have open spaces with a variety of materials that promote exploration, because children being able to explore things and learn the uses of things is what leads to creativity. Set up a space that encourages both fine and gross motor play. So you have your parts of the classroom where they do like tabletop toys. So that could be your sensory bin. That could be a small toy or a cognitive area. That could be, and then for the gross motor, what do you think?
Any of those, like how I have the soft play juggle gym.
Okay. And also, depending on how you do your blocks, that can also be kind of an area for gross motor, depending on the size of the blocks, I suppose, and the size of the baby using them. Okay. Schedule uninterrupted time for children to explore. That matters more as they get older, because usually when they get into 3 years old in preschool, we try to over-structure their day, where it's okay, 20 minutes for this, okay, transition, next thing, 20 minutes for this, transition, next thing, 20 minutes for this. The book recommends trying to give them an hour when they get to be that age, to give them time to get deep into the play and really develop it. And then the last one is designing with beauty in mind. And that's not just for the adults, even though we appreciate beauty. It's to use soothing colors, to try to integrate natural light in, to make a more stimulating environment without being overwhelming. Okay, I'm sure this picture looks familiar to everybody. Do you know what we call those?
The treasure box.
The treasure basket. I thought that was a really good picture of one, so I was like, ooh, we're doing that. So material types. Open-ended. We've used that word a few times here, and we're going to discuss it more, but open-ended, looking at this treasure basket, what things in here are being used for a purpose other than what they were originally designed for? Anything?
The spool, it looks like a big old spool.
Right? Like electric spool or something?
Yes.
Those balls, they use those for decoration, don't they?
Yeah. And there was the little.
I think a loofah.
A loofah, yep. That's not usually where you'd find a loofah.
Is that a brush in his hand?
Like a nail brush. I think there's some sort of little metal pitcher in the basket.
Yeah.
So we would consider these open-ended because you're not giving them to the child in a context. So you don't have like a shower play area with the loofah and the bath sponge and the nail brush. This is more where you're wanting them to use their creativity and how to use it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So sensory, using different textures. A couple reasons for that. We talked about, especially in babies, how they need repeated exposure to different tactile stimulation to develop their senses of touch, and how they recommend that even you massage the baby's arms and legs to help get that touch in. So if you can put in like nail brushes, what else is a different texture? The loofah, even the basket itself is a texture here. But there's a lot of natural materials, and then the metal would be smooth and cold. So lots of sensory input from this basket. Accessible. So one of the problems that can happen when you put a bunch of stuff like this in your classroom is it looks like somebody's garage sale. And everything just gets piled up and it's a hot mess. So to make it more appealing and to make it where the babies and toddlers can access things, you need to think through how you're going to keep it clean and organized. And we talked about labeled as well. And have enough materials so that a couple or a few children can use it, but not so much that they can dump it all out and roll around. So it's a fine line. You have to do that with different ways of trying out. So you might have a basket full of little balls, and then the first toddler that comes along dumps it out and rolls in it. And you're like, well, maybe I need a smaller basket. All right. Oh, here's another example of open-ended materials. In particular, when you do it like this, they're referred to as loose parts. Has anybody ever heard that term?
No.
No? There's a lady that, and I put the reference in the bibliography here, that actually does trainings and writes books on loose parts. And she came and visited and did a talk at Pre-K for SA, and she just has suitcases full of stuff like this that she takes to her trainings for people to play with. So we have here different kinds of paper rolls that things were on. We have metal cans. So one thing you have to worry about with the metal cans is what?
The edges.
Yeah.
Right.
So not the edges, because they're the edges, but the...
When you cut it, you need to be careful it's not sharpened.
Because, yeah, you don't want to give the children a metal can and then have them bleeding and have to figure out how to, that'd be bad. So there are special kinds of openers that keep it from having a sharp edge. So that's an option. I have actually been in an infant room where they use that opener and then use just the lids in a sensory bin with magnets. The babies seem to enjoy that, but you could do that with toddlers. But just having the different texture, and what you'd have a different sound too if you started stacking these things and they fell over. So other things to consider, especially in an infant room, are durability. So these little balls are lovely, but like baskets, they can chip off. And what's a baby going to do when a bit chips off? Yes, they will. So you have to really, if you choose to use things that are not as durable as infant toys, then you have to really be on your game watching the children when they play with it. So you're there to stop them from choking. All right. So in a classroom, you can go a step beyond. So typically in a classroom, the containers that are used are plastic. We showed in some of the other pictures a way to go beyond there is to use woven baskets. I think I showed you at Pre-K for SA, we had seen baskets that were actually woven plastic that kind of cheated a bit, split the difference. But I have gone to Goodwill and found baskets for a couple dollars that you know, that kind of thing's doable. And then you just put the label on the basket and put the label on the shelf. Decorative yet usable items. So is everybody still reading their chapter in the book that goes with these things? Please say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, thank you.
Still doing that.
Okay, so it mentioned in the book, an idea for this is a usable but decorative thing in the home area or in dramatic play would be a tablecloth. So it's something that you don't necessarily see all the time in there. And it enhances the play, but at the same time makes it more beautiful or more interesting. Things like that you can add in that won't hurt the children and aren't just to look at, but can be used. Create classroom-specific books. So as the children are creating things, you can take a picture of it and put it in a book, maybe of block structures they've created. We have a family board example below of families' photos that children have brought in. And that would be down at the children's level for them to look at and point to and touch. And then on the right, I have an example of a mobile that was put near a window. So it has the light refracting off it and creating something very interesting. If you are doing Texas Rising Star, it also mentions having something interesting for the baby to look at or do at the changing table. And a mobile is a great way to get that incorporated in. And then using music for a purpose. So, especially in an infant room, it's really easy to just turn on the radio to what station you like and keep it on all day. In general, that's not recommended. They'd prefer that you make it intentional. So if you have an urge to listen to some kind of music, it's going to have to be child friendly. But pick a part of the day that lends itself to that, and put out materials for the children to dance with the music. Or for, if you're putting it on for a nap time, you can, sing a lullaby with it with the children, or use it to calm down the room for nap time. So if you have on the music, you need to be able to speak to why it's on at that time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So if I can't just have the music on for 6 hours of an 8-hour day, I need to pick maybe 2 30-minute times or 2 hour times during the day that it really fits in well with what we're doing, and do it then. You can even take music outside with you, with your materials. So if you're looking at the clouds with the children, you lay the babies out on the indoor-outdoor tablecloth thing for them outside, and you can listen to music and play with materials. All right, now I think this is going to be the fun part for y'all. I found some websites that have very interesting environments, and I'm going to go to each of these and we can kind of talk through what we see and what would work for your classroom and what you would change up for your classroom. So let me stop the share. Let me do a new share. And this is not me endorsing any of these programs or writers. I just really enjoyed the pictures. Does everybody see the picture of the woven structure next to the book area?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is in the United Kingdom, I guess, Roseville Childcare. And what about this picture speaks to you? What are you seeing that goes along with what we were just talking about?
I think the thing on the wall,
The thing on the wall? What about it?
like it's kind of like a mobile, for like.
Okay. So it's also bringing kind of the outdoors in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else are we seeing?
The little, I don't know if that's necessarily like the little treasure box,
Yeah, like
or
a treasure
boat,
basket.
or yes, basket, but a hole under the library section, just very
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
What about it under there?
hands-on sense, fine motor,
It looks like they have some.
but also open ending, because I don't know, it looks like there's a stick of some sort. So
I think that might be a rain stick. I'm not sure, because it's next to some drums. So I'm seeing a variety of textures here. Would you agree with that?
mm-hmm.
what would work? So this obviously is not for a toddler class because it's too tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what would work here for a toddler class?
That thing, the teepee or whatever.
I have different feelings about the teepee. Toddlers have a tendency to bite when you get them together like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I were to do something like that, I'd probably want it to be open at the top so I could stick my head in easily
You're right.
and be able to intervene. But yeah, I think a toddler would enjoy having a little place to crawl into, a little safe spot. You could make it even small enough that only one toddler could fit in at a time, and that would make it safe from biting too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go on to the next one. So here we have their pretend play. Everything's pretty short here, so this could be a toddler or an infant classroom. What do you think? What are you seeing that's different?
The baskets.
Okay. Let me start with perhaps a more gut level reaction to it. Do you like it or do you not like it?
I don't like
Cute.
it.
I'm hearing a no. Who said no?
She's like, I don't
I
like it.
did. I don't like it.
Okay, what speaks to you saying that? I wouldn't want that in my classroom, Nikki.
I don't know. It doesn't look like for kids. I don't know. To me, it doesn't.
It doesn't look like it's for children.
Yeah,
So
like,
it has the same
Doesn't have
kinds of things you'd find in a grown-up's kitchen.
yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah, I guess how she says more natural. It's more.
Yeah, there's not enough color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It ain't no Fisher Price, that's all colorful.
Right.
But
So that's
see where they're
actually,
going with it. With their
It's
theme,
nice other
especially if
than there's
it's-
no
Yeah,
color.
It's nice, but I think kids wouldn't be attracted to it.
No, it's not enough color to attract the attention.
so this is a difference of philosophies. This could be for more of a Reggio Emilia classroom. This could be more for a Montessori, where they want children to act out the different roles they're seeing at home. And if things look like they're closer to what they'd see at home, it's easier for children to get into that play frame. So it looks like they actually made some sinks. So they're not the plastic sinks, they're metal. So you get the different sensory sounds. I can't tell what kinds of,
That's a coffee press.
do they?
Well, the one that you put the arrow over, that looks like a coffee press.
Your eyesight's significantly better than mine.
I can zoom in on my phone. I'm making the picture bigger, and it does look like something like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those look like metal pieces on that top shelf there,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's
So-
a basket underneath.
So this is your home area is supposed to reflect the children's environments at home. Is it going to be the same as everybody's home? No.
No.
Because every home's different. But just looking at this, I'm thinking this is a community that goes out to farmers markets with their baskets and does that kind of thing. So just, even if it doesn't appeal to you as being Fisher Pricey, consider what can I take away from it. This might be actually cheaper to make for a center than the Fisher Price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised. The kids
Get a palette.
might actually enjoy it more. You don't know until you try something like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, this is the same kind of feeling because I think that's the theme for their whole school.
Just
is
wood.
really natural.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel. Natural. I don't want to say hippie, but natural hippie type.
Okay. So
Rustic.
they even have a teacher-made material here. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm. With the
Thing?
spools.
And then they have the picture on the side. It looks like they had some sort of spools that they made tracks out of for the kids.
That's actually cool looking.
They have, so this is a block area, but you can see they have a lot of different it looks like they have some sort of little wood or stone colored things to add with it. They have a puzzle here to add in the building. They have little forest animals, and they also put literature with it. You see the book at the top?
Oh yeah.
So adding in that kind of stuff opens it up for the kids, and it gets your literacy in there as well. All right, what are we thinking about this?
That's nice.
It's very, it is outdoorsy, but outdoorsy, natural. I'm surprised she's not painting on a leaf type thing. Like everything looks like they just got from the backyard and made it into something. That's what I meant.
But this is a lovely art area for outside.
Mm-hmm.
It has so they made their own easel, right? They didn't get a commercial one. They just put the string with the clips on the fence. They did put a frame around it to make it more beautiful, but essentially that's what it is. I'm surprised they don't have a smock, but they have the paints out for the kids to use. That's something that you can't do for young children, but for the toddlers even, you can have these little trays out for them to use. They're going to mix it up, and maybe only 2 children will get to use it like that, but still, it's nice. Sensory table. And it looks like they have an additional sensory experience right next to it. And this is their art area here. A variety of materials there. Art area. So this starts getting into the, is it still usable and lovely, or is it starting to get cluttered?
It's crowded.
It's a lot of stuff. So I think for a toddler class, this is too much stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting the kinds of stuff they have out for them to use. And I did notice at the top here that they have the play fruits and vegetables.
Oh, I didn't see that the first time either.
I have 2 feelings about that. I understand why we as adults like these. It's not necessary for kids though. So if you have anything, you could even put those balls here, and once they start getting their pretend play going, they wouldn't care what it is. I mean, how many of your kids have wanted to play guns and found the toy cucumber or carrot?
Oh,
Yeah.
This would be considered loose parts they have for the children to be able to grab and play with. They might have this near a sand area or near their mud kitchen for the kids to do with this stuff what they will. They even have lids. So if you're not into using, we talked about the metal can lids. These are probably baby jar lids.
Yeah, that's what they look like.
And those work too, and you don't have to worry about a sharp edge on that. This is some teacher that had posted what she does in her toddler classroom. So here's some stuff that you can either say, wow, that'd work great for me, or ooh, I don't like that. So here's the first thing, and you'd have to consider how you would do something like this, but they're using light for the kids to play with, like a light table. And you can see they have the table for them to do the individual feeding. They have their pull-up bar with the mirror. And then these are loose parts. The music area. And they still put the books with the music area, having to do with music. They have their sensory bottles they made to go in the music area too. For this teacher in particular, she said she made the discovery that if she saw a store or the shopping mall had something really beautiful out that she thought she could use later, she would go talk to them about it and say, oh, when you're done with that, I'd like to use that in my classroom. So that's where she
like the
flowers.
decor. Mm-hmm.
And then she did this with the material,
Oh, that's actually cool looking. I like that one.
right?
Yeah, because for some reason I could see it, I don't know, being untied and
Mm-hmm.
being another sensory, but careful because of how strong these kids actually could be.
Yeah, you'd put like, what, 50 pounds of pressure when they hang on to it.
Mm-hmm.
So here are their materials, how they have them displayed. And you'll notice there's a space for everything. They don't have their labels, though, it doesn't look like. There's another one of the material. Wondering how she's doing that. It looks like they might have, I can't tell, maybe some kind of metal rack.
Yeah, it's metal rack. Yeah.
That's kind of
It
neat.
actually looks like just another like piece of maybe fabric.
You think?
Yeah, because all of
Yeah,
it's connected onto something, and then that something's connected to the ceiling.
Right.
Yes, it looks like it's pretty flat.
Mm-hmm. I like how that looks, though.
It
Mhm.
is. It's very appealing visually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have to, unfortunately, probably take it down every, couple months and wash it to get all the dust out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how
But
they
this is
have
the
it
one that
set
the
up
lady
for
asks for the displays, right? So she
Yep.
probably switches it every so often anyways.
Probably. Here's another one. I think that's the same space.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the art area that she has for the toddler classroom. Very simple. It looks like she has some clay, glue, brushes, crayons, watercolor. I have no idea what this is. And paper. But that's something you could easily do. Odds are you wouldn't have the clay out for the children to access all the
Or
time.
in a bag.
What was that?
Or in the bag, like it's in a Walmart bag.
Oh no, that's the clay bag. They wouldn't, that's
Oh,
sucker.
it looks like a Walmart bag for me.
Oh, the clay's gray probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the clay is gray, and it sticks to that bag really well. It takes some effort to get the bag separated from it. But it looks like the teacher put a lot of thought into making things usable yet pretty. Because, I mean, you could use almost anything to hold the brushes, and they chose to use this little metal decorative thing they probably had from a garage sale. All right, so that's the second one down. Let's look at the third one. This is for 2- and 3-year-old. And there's their home area. Now, one thing different about this and the ones we looked at Pre-K for SA is the microwave. Does anybody remember how they did the microwaves at Pre-K for SA?
I don't think I saw a microwave, but they probably used a real one that didn't work no more.
So whenever possible, we try to use the real object. We just cut the cords off so that they can have that experience of trying out the real stuff. Looks like they might have a telephone there. They have real pans, but a pretend stove. They have the tablecloth. That's their group time area.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
I like it too because you would have a space for everybody to sit. The only problem I see is where are you going to put all those things when they're not using that area?
They might keep it there.
Because they
I
must.
doubt they'll stack it somewhere.
Say again?
I said they might keep it there. I said because I doubt they'll stack it somewhere.
So they must have enough space where they can only use this for large group.
Mm-hmm.
Which, hey, more power to them if they do. Okay, this one, we have their block area. And they put some construction hats and train hats for kids, I guess, to get more into the play.
Oh, I think we looked at this one already. This one looks familiar.
The tree looks familiar to me.
Yeah, the window looks familiar to me.
Light.
Mm-hmm.
So they chose to use a basket to store their materials. I think this is probably their science center. And then they made the mobiles. Looks like they probably made that with the children.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what the crowns are for. All right, and last but not least, an infant classroom. So this is a bit busy, but I think this is just a display the teacher put out for the day. But let's see, lots of different textures. The scarves, the bath things. That actually looks like real fruit and veg. I don't know if it is or not.
The bowl of rocks is choking hazards.
Depends what size rocks you get.
Well, those look small from the picture.
They do look small. This I would not have even thought of, but using gift bags as something for them to put things in. I know for sure toddlers would get a kick out of that.
And put everything in there.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Fill it up and carry it around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this for different textures. For an infant room,
Oh, yeah.
so it looks like maybe some different non-slip mats,
Mhm.
maybe a
Are they
bath mat.
silicone looking? Yeah.
This is AstroTurf. How interesting would it be for a crawler or a scooter to go around this area? There's their home area. All real materials. Okay, there they have set out for them to explore. It looks like would have to worry about some of the size of some of this stuff here. But we've got some tubes. We've got a box. We know how much we love boxes. This is the crinkly paper that goes in the box. And I think they have some little boxes that are stuffed full of scarves for them to pull out, which I think would be very fun. Some more ideas. I like how she uses the different textures even to lay these things on. That's kind of cool. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. I thought you all would enjoy those. I thought it was pretty keen myself, so. Let's see, let's go back to this. All right, can you see the artwork display?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, super. We know we're supposed to display what the children create somehow. The easiest thing for you to do is to stick it up high on a wall where only you can touch it and pick it up, put it down whenever you want to. However, you get more points when an evaluator comes in if it's down where the children can touch it.
Yeah, that's the level of the child.
Mm-hmm. This one has clips at the top. If you wanted to, you could use even gentler clips. So these would probably pinch a finger. But they do make clips that are easy enough for a toddler to pinch. You could do that and have them put up their own artwork if that's interests you. They have at the bottom where you can put the child's name, or you can put the child's photo on a frame, and that's where they put their things. Different choices. I thought this was a particularly pretty one, so just sharing that with you. Does anybody have any thoughts about this?
I could see this for the older kids.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
that's
my
because of
toddlers tear. That's the first thing they do when we do art. Try to tear the paper. So I could see them trying to.
Nice pictures.
So that's the thing. They're going to, if they make a painting to begin with, it's just going to be paint that's smeared around, right?
Yes, that one is perfect. Like,
So that's fine. Smeared around paint is fine because that's developmentally appropriate for that age. You dry it somewhere. It's not going to be perfectly flat because they use so much paint. It's going to be.
yeah.
It's not the point. So they're all wonky, dried piece of crunchy paper, and you clip it down somewhere where they can touch it, and odds are it's going to get ripped up in a day or two, if not sooner. And that's okay. So it's not a long-term art installation. It's something for them to come by, to touch and experience. If it's a particularly good example of their artwork, odds are you don't want to actually display it. You want to give it to the family. There are other ways to display. They have that plastic thing that you can put artwork behind where they can't touch it. That's okay too, but I would think for an evaluator, you'd get more points if they could actually touch it. But that's your call. You just need to know that it needs to be on their level where they can easily walk up and see it. Any questions on displaying artwork?
No.
Okay. Open-ended questions. So we usually ask the children things that have a one-word answer. We just need them. We're doing a quick check to see what they know, right? What color is that? What shape is that? What animal is that? What sound does it make? And they have to go into their memory, pull out that one word you want, and share it with you. That's a closed question. An open-ended question is one that you're trying to figure out what they're thinking, and you're trying to pull language out of them. So you want an answer that's more than one word. So we talked about the common questions that are more closed off that just give one word. What sound does it make? What is it called? What color is it? Open-ended is trying to ask them, oh, what are you going to do when you get home? What do you think will happen next? If something breaks, how can you fix that, or how can we fix it? What do you think? What do you feel? The focus is more on pulling words out of the kid and then responding to have that back and forth conversation. One of the nicest things you can do for a toddler, especially when they're making artwork or making a building, is to just say, tell me about it. Not tell them, oh, it's beautiful. That's really interesting. Just tell me about what you're making. And that pulls some words out. Does anybody have an example of a question you use with your kids that pull a lot of words out?
I guess how you said, like, tell me about it, I'll say, instead of tell me about it, what is it? Or what is that? Like, either bring me something to show, or they make something with a Play-Doh. Oh, what is that? And then they'll go off and do their little mumble. Okay. And what else?
Maybe uneven.
Yeah, sometimes when they're drawing something, they ask, what are you doing? Oh, like yesterday, my grandson was doing that. They was drawing the ladybug.
Oh, no.
And I said, okay, what are you doing? Say, a ladybug. I said, oh, that's beautiful. What are you doing? Say, I had the head, the legs. Say, how many legs had? Say, 9. Say, oh, that's good because a lot of legs. And he said, yes. I said, what else? It has a blood scraps. I say, oh, okay. And what color is that? Red. And they had antennas. And he was explaining everything he was doing.
one of the things that I heard you say in that was really open-ended was what else? What else can you tell me about it? That's definitely open-ended. Now, the what color is it? How many legs does it have? Those are closed. They're okay to ask, but they usually don't pull a lot of words out. But when you followed up and asked what else, that's really helpful to get more language. Okay. So the whole point of the creativity, asking the children to talk with you and have these back and forth conversations, having all these really interesting materials for them to experiment with, and having the teacher talking through how they're problem solving in the classroom and describing their own actions, all leads to the children being empowered. Having the children feel like what they're feeling, what they're doing has value and is appreciated by the teacher is really important for the child's development. So I do believe that is the end of this one. I have the bibliography here. The first citation is about loose parts. And if we ever see each other again, I do have this book and you can take a look through it. The ones we looked at for the pictures of classrooms are here as well, if you want to look back at those. And then I have the images where I pulled them. Does anybody have any questions? You don't have to come to the afternoon one because we just plowed through the first and the 7 and 8. So you're good for the afternoon. You don't have to come at 12:30. Does anybody have any questions following up for creativity chapter?
No.
Nobody?
No.
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 No.